Thank you, Tebello. Thank you, Viola, for such an inspiring breathing session. Good morning, good afternoon, our dear participants. For those who just joined, my name is Nawal Tarazi. I'm Jordanian living in Switzerland, a professor at the University in Geneva and a female Wave of Change board member. I would like to thank you all for joining our global conference today. From over 40 countries. Yes, we do have participants from over 40 countries around the world, and I hope this conference will serve as a platform of awareness and guidance to action. I'm privileged to present this upcoming session with remarkable ladies who come from countries where I come from, countries from the Middle East and North Africa, who will share with us a snapshot, just a brief one, some challenges and opportunities that occurred during the past year. In alphabetical order, in the names of the countries, we will start with Nour Moghrabi, our ambassador from Jordan, who will talk about care economy. No matter how small is the support that women can get, it can be translated into huge waves of hard work and contributions to the economy. Then Chada Kassab, our ambassador, and Fadia Ghanem, our wave maker from Lebanon, will shed the light on the effect of the challenges on the economic and educational sector in Lebanon, followed by Dr. Mina Qalli from Morocco, who will inspire us with a new development model that was initiated and put into action, benefiting Moroccan women in general and the handicapped women in particular. Then Adriana Meyer, our ambassador in Qatar, will take us through a journey of opportunities that has risen during the challenging conditions and opened new doors to women in Qatar. And we will end up with our ambassador in the UAE, United Arab Emirates, Lina Assaad, who will provide some alarming facts about burnout and how can we avoid it. I would like to remind the participants that all comments, feedback, and contributions are welcomed in the chat box, and we'll try to get back to you at the end of the session, given time limitations. Nour Moghrabi, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Nawal. Thank you, everyone. Hello to everyone from Amman, Jordan. And very honored to be part of this discussion. And today, what I will cover is some brief about the evolving nature of the care economy in Jordan. So just let's start by letting you know that Jordan suffers very low economic participation of women, even pre-COVID pandemic, and it's considered one of the lowest worldwide at 13% of economic participation for women. Of course, the unemployment rates worldwide have increased, but in Jordan for women, they have hit 28%. And this was further analyzed in Jordan because as per social norms and gender roles, and also the different perceptions that women lie under, it is very important to study what is the care burden on women and how this is affecting women's economic participation. I think this has always been the case, and it's just that officials started to pay more attention to this reality that women face. During the pandemic, the care burden on women was even more exacerbated and affected their ability to stay in the market, to search for opportunities negatively. And we, as activists in the area of economic empowerment of women, have led so many different efforts to raise the flag on this issue and bring it to officials' attention and entice several measures to be taken during the pandemic in order to help lift this burden. And as Nawal said, any kind of measures would be greatly helpful. So studies before the pandemic have shown that while Jordanians in general, and especially men, do not mind or do agree about women's right to work. However, when it comes to leaving a child with a relative, only 54% agreed and accepted. Returning after 5 p.m. to home is only accepted by 26% of the surveyed population. And that was even before the pandemic. During the pandemic, this burden doubled. Women were 17 times more likely to spend their time on direct and indirect care at home, things including childcare, playing with children, helping children with homework, caring for the elderly and people with disabilities, laundry, dishes, taking out the garbage, groceries, cooking. All of these things were like piling up on women's shoulders, and very little was done to help them in the house and by the state. However, during this time, as I mentioned, we did succeed in bringing this more and more to officials' attention as an economic situation and not just household situation. So we were lucky to start seeing some measures being taken. And for example, the government issued one of the measures was that it requires the private sector to allow women with children under 11 years old to work flexibly from home. Also, we managed to push for gradual reopening of nurseries for children up to 4 years old, even during total lockdowns, to help especially women in the health sector report to work. Also, just recently, the government allowed instructions on home-based nurseries to cater for the increasing demand. And also it is designing social norms campaigns on fathers' engagements in childcare. As well, the Social Security Corporation in Jordan is launching subsidies for childcare centers to allow them to continue operation, especially after they were hardly hit by the economic situation, and also to subsidize mothers for covering the first 6 months after childbirth with allowances for their children care. So we also managed to carry a national demand and supply survey analysis for childcare services, which is the first time it ever happens in Jordan, to kind of better understand what are the shortcomings and what are the expectations of both parents, mothers and childcare providers on this important sector. And also another study is being undergone by UN Women on the economic and employment impact of expansion of this sector. So what we saw is that even though the pandemic really hit women hard, and I'm one of the mothers that suffered a lot, and my colleagues in the Mina know that because we exchanged a lot on that. It's just that very refreshing and relieving to see this topic being brought up to more policy-making decision processes and to the attention of at least that kind of decisions. And most importantly, the government now is taking ownership and leading the coordination of efforts. So instead of having efforts here and there by private sector or civil society, now the government is taking more ownership, and I'm very happy to be part of that dialogue and discussion happening on the ground with the government of Jordan. It means that the government has started to realize and recognize the impact of care burden on women, and that it realized the importance of supporting and expanding childcare services, not only for the benefit of women, but also for the children and early childhood development, as well as job creation and expansion of the economy. I would like to stop here, and if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nour. We'll keep the questions at the end, and we'll continue with the other ambassadors. Chada, please, the floor is yours.
Hello, am I well heard?
Yes, go ahead, Chada, we can hear you.
Okay, welcome to all. My name is Chada Kassab. Some of you might know me, but for those who don't, let me get into a quick introduction to lighten the mood. I want you to get to know me as much as I would like to get to know every single one of you. 5 years ago, my dear friend Rolla called me and asked me a question. Would you like to spread waves of love and knowledge among people? My answer was quick, and I dove into that web space. We were the first who made Zoom webinars about various subjects regarding women and social justice. We then opted to launch this platform in the real world among many interested peers in Beirut and especially here in Tripoli. Female Wave of Change taught me that no distance between us could undermine the fact that we are one unit in different points around the world. According to the latest study of Bloomberg, Lebanon's annual rate of inflation has risen to the highest of all countries, surpassing Zimbabwe and Venezuela, as the financial meltdown in the Middle East nation worsens. Lebanon is in the middle of a severe economic crisis that started in 2019, worsened by the COVID pandemic in 2020, and last year's explosion of the Beirut port. The value of the currency has collapsed. The unemployment has hugely increased, and electricity and medicine all are extremely in short supply. The currency has lost nearly 90% of its value and plunged 3/4 of residents into poverty. A lot of people, and particularly women, have their own private business and they do run it successfully. Following my previous statement about the crisis, you can surmise how bad their economic situation is and how their products are stuck in limbo, unable to be turned into financial benefits. How to transform these challenges into opportunities. This is our main title. Yes, my friends, you are the beacon of hope for our economy to grow and prosper. How? By considering this conference as a stepping stone for Lebanese entrepreneurs and the rest of the world, to bridge us together and to bring our goods into light on a new international market. Women in business in Lebanon has developed and reached all sectors in the economy. They are inserted in various artisanal works such as handmade crafts, businesses, and agro-foods. Each single one of the members here today represents a vision of her future self as a Lebanese ambassador for peace and economy. Solidarity is key for success. Perseverance is our objective, and brainstorming is our means to achieve our goals. I'm honored for this opportunity to address you all. I wish this conference will serve its purpose and enrich your knowledge and experience, as well as bond you together as a community. Thank you.
Thank you, Chada. We want to hear from Fadia the effect on the education on the Lebanese market. Please go ahead.
Greetings, Female Wave of Change and our esteemed guests. I am Fadia Ghanem, a wave maker from Lebanon. And today, I will talk about education, the powerful tool to change the world by revealing the challenges and opportunities leading the education sector in Lebanon and facing it. For those of you who don't know my country, allow me to take you on a small trip across 10,452 kilometers squared with a population of 4 million Lebanese and almost 2 million refugees. We have beautiful mountains and the coast by the sea. We enjoy 5 and a delicious cuisine, and our people are so generous and love to live. How? If you look at this series of pictures, they're only 2 years apart, but this is Lebanon today. You can find car queues across miles from a gas station to fill fuel, and people lining up in front of bakeries and pharmacies for daily bread and medicine. My country today is living through continuous turmoil and crisis, yet we are improving and protecting human rights while focusing on those of children and women. If you look at these numbers, this is the treasure of Lebanon. We have a very rich human capital, as we ranked 18th out of 137 countries in the quality of the educational system. And we ranked 4th internationally in the quality of science and math education in 2018. With almost 3,000 schools, 43.5% are public. We have almost 95,000 teachers across Lebanon, 87% being female, and almost 1 million students, 52.9% being female, with the same rate in universities in 2018. However, unfortunately, today, over 400,000 students are at risk of staying home with no schooling. Seeing this paradox, it is very logical to ask, how is all this possible? Let's break it down. As the COVID pandemic started to take over the world early 2020, an economic crisis started to unfold in Lebanon, and today, our local currency is at 90% devaluation. According to the UN, 78% of Lebanese now live below the poverty line. Adding on the collapsing economy due to corruption, the devastating port explosion in Beirut on August 4th, 2020, killed over 200 people, injured 7,500, and displaced 300,000 with $15 billion in property damages. And a daily 22-hour power cuts have become the norm, and shortages have hit daily necessities. As a direct result, many schools, students, and teachers have no access to proper internet and power for their online classes. These operational costs aren't the only challenge. Covering the cost of stationery, books, and transportation is a large burden on parents. A book today costs 13 times its original price, and school tuition fees are doubled. The closure of schools does not only mean skipping a scholastic year, but it also carries severe consequences on students' mental health, well-being, and self-esteem. The future of an entire generation is in jeopardy. It is on education that our country has always capitalized, breeding the world's finest thinkers, innovators, entrepreneurs, engineers, doctors, and scientists. Today, with no light beaming from the end of the tunnel, people are lighting their own torches to continue paving the way for a brighter future. Across history, women in Lebanon have been frontliners in advocating for human rights. Women rose as a leading force in the revolution of 7 October 2019, raising their voices against corruption and patriarchy, and are still striving for justice, equality, and peace through fighting corruption. With all sectors collapsing in Lebanon, the educational sector remains our safety jacket. We can see the unity through grassroots initiatives, donating books and stationery, exchanging expertise, volunteering, tutoring, and mentoring. Countries are offering aid, and most recently, Australia donated 50,000 computers to Catholic schools, and the USAID has offered solar panels to rural towns. Everyone is helping in the simplest way they know how, for only together we can overcome these challenges. I wish to end on a bright note. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow has not yet come, but we have today. Let the wave of change begin by helping Lebanon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fadia. Thank you very much, Chada, for spotting out and shedding the light on what is happening in Lebanon. This is a platform of awareness to show the world what is happening and to look for guidance for similar expertise around the world. And of course, let's keep in mind, as Fadia said, that the waves never stop and the change is happening. And we are confident that tomorrow is a better day. We'll continue with Dr. Mina. Dr. Mina will take us through a journey of opportunities. Please go ahead, Dr. Mina.
Good morning, everybody. Do you hear me? Okay, so I'm Mina El Qalli from Morocco, Female Wave of Change Ambassador in Morocco. I'm expert in autism and international consultant in inclusive education, global advisor member on the Global Leadership Advisory Board in Bidinstrang. So I'm going to talk about new development in Morocco. New development model. We have 4 major axes of transformation in Morocco. We know that women with disabilities suffer from a double exclusion, a definitive alteration of social identity, and poverty, without forgetting gender-related discrimination. The psychosocial representation of women with disabilities largely determines the marginalization of this population. This exclusion is manifested at several levels. But in Morocco, things are moving. The Special Commission on the Development Model has listed 4 main axes of transformation to achieve the objectives of the new development model. Diversified economy, enhanced human capital, inclusion of all, and sustainability of territories. About the third axe, inclusion of all, which targets also women with disabilities, the Commission advocates transformation through inclusion and solidarity. The objective is the participation of all Moroccan in the national dynamic of development. The Commission notes that all population must be included in the collective efforts, mainly through participation and equal access to economic opportunities, through social protection, and through openness and the acceptance of the diversity of Moroccan society. To do this, Morocco will empower women in general and ensure gender equality and participation, promote the inclusion and development of young people by increasing the opportunities and channels of participation, mobilize cultural diversity as a lever for openness, dialogue, and cohesion. Therefore, with the view to consolidating the social band, the Commission recommends strengthening the inclusion of all citizens, in particular women and young people, through empowerment and wider participation, while ensuring the implementation of social protection. Through this development model, women in general are considered as full citizens regardless their social, economic, geographical, or other condition as handicap. This aims to make inclusive development a paradigm in terms of human rights by being determined to open up projects and programs to women with disabilities, while inclusive development is inspired by the concept of society for all, which gives everyone the possibility of exploiting their potential and consequently of contributing to the general good-being by participating in the life of his community. Finally, I want to clarify that this new unique model is the first of its kind in the Arab world to empower women in general and disabled women in particular. Thank you for your attention, and thank you, Nawal.
Thank you, Dr. Mina, for shedding the light on this new model that hopefully will be replicated in the Arab world and in many other countries around the world. We'll fly from Morocco to Qatar with our ambassador from Qatar, Adriana. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Nawal. And we in Female Wave of Change Qatar are very excited to join this conversation. I am Adriana Meyer, business psychologist, coach, and entrepreneur. And in 2019, I followed my passion for humans, joining the Female Wave of Change as the ambassador here in Qatar and the humanity team leader. Along with me, Zaina Barakat and Usha Nagrani, our newly joined wave makers. In our recent meeting, we brainstormed the new opportunities and how we will focus our work on the voices of women here in Qatar. As we are all ICF accredited coaches, we will start by forming circles of women, following the Female Wave of Change, circles of change. And this will be the first step to connect locally, identifying their needs and start acting. As our Mina ambassadors shared before, the COVID-19 pandemic has been a game changer for societies and economies alike. It brought the potential to ignite more persistent change, not only in our personal lives, but also in business-related areas and in the public space. Another salient feature that made this crisis so extraordinary is the disproportionate effect it is having on us women. And some analysts started calling the COVID-19 crisis a crisis of women or a she-cession. Interesting, right? So globally speaking, it might represent some specific implications from the pandemic for female leaders and entrepreneurs. And a good example of that can be seen in a KPMG survey. They have developed a questionnaire here in Qatar based on economic and business expectations, risks and opportunities, as well as on career and gender diversity factors. This framework enabled to draw comparisons between the pre and post-COVID world. And the survey interestingly revealed three main themes and the data that I want to share with you. So number one, female leaders are embracing changes related to COVID-19 and are realistic about what the new reality holds for their organizations. 80% of them have seen the digital transformation of their businesses accelerating during the pandemic. 81% expect the crisis to affect their businesses for 2 years or more. 48% say their potential talent pool has increased, whilst 53% select securing long-term customer relationships as the most important measure to deal with the effect of the crisis. And female leaders say making a positive impact on the world is a top motivator. This really interests us, women leaders, because climate change and gender inequality were the two top issue female leaders named as areas where they feel the pressure from their stakeholders to act. So the numbers say 42% say sustainability issues and activities to reduce climate change will be even more important for strategic decisions post-COVID-19. And the last one, female leaders assess COVID-19 as a potential equalizer for gender equality. What they say by that new digital communication and collaboration tools enable working from anywhere, which may help with work and life balance of us female leaders. And just a percentage, 59% of female managers believe their personal communication with employees have improved this crisis. So, such vivid examples demonstrate remarkable resilience in the face of challenges, provide us with inspiration and hope that a more equal world is possible and can be achieved through the same resilience and determination to turn the adversity into opportunity by giving women the voices. Thank you, Nawal. Thank you all.
Thank you, Adriana. We will end up our session of challenges to opportunities from the Middle East and North Africa with our ambassador, Lina Al-Assaad from the United Arab Emirates, who will tell us a few things about burnout and how can we avoid it. Lina, please go ahead.
Thank you, Nawal. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are. My name is Lina Al-Assaad, and I am the ambassador of the Female Wave of Change for the United Arab Emirates. I'm also a team coach, an executive coach, a speaker, a facilitator, a mom, a daughter, a wife. And saying all of that, I am sure if we introduce ourselves, we will find that we're juggling too many balls as women in this community. And we want all to be the best in every way. We want to be the best moms, the best daughters, the best wives, the best, of course, in our profession. And what this poses on us as challenge is the risk of burning out, because we can only handle so many balls in one hand, because we're only made to withstand. Our body is made to withstand a limited amount of stress. And what I'm going to discuss here is something that Nour at the beginning touched on from Jordan with the studies about what's happening with the female in the workforce, the little support, the survey. And this is very particular for Jordan, but it also spreads across the Mena, Middle East region, with a lot of women juggling work, juggling their homes, juggling, their personal lives, their health, and it's not easy. And this causes the risk of burning out. So what is this risk of burning out? We all know what stress is, right? We have a lot of work, we are over engaged, we're going crazy, our emotions are super active, we have a lot of hyperactivities, rushing. If I have to describe it in one word, we're going crazy. But for burnout, it's the opposite. We actually feel we're flat out, we are demotivated, we're really disengaged, we're hopeless, we don't see that we can handle anymore. We see that we failed in everything. We are demotivated, we lose hope. And in one word, if I have to give an image to it, it's like we're flat dead. And why is it so important to recognize these signs? Because these signs, in the 2019, the WHO has recognized world burnout as an occupational health phenomenon, which means it's causing a lot of cost on the human and on the company. And in their survey, they believe about 1 trillion is costing a loss of productivity in the global workforce. $1 trillion is being, wasted in the productivity cost from burnout. The American Psychiatry or Psychology Association also recognizes burnout with a very high cost to employee and very high cost to organization, where it says more than 500 billion USD and 550 million work days are being lost yearly in the US. And the healthcare costs are 50% greater in the high pressure organization. And what we want to recognize here is that, yes, this is the cost of burnout on the organization, but the cost of burnout on us as people and us as women is the highest thing we're looking at, and we want to recognize and be aware of as quickly as possible, so we know how to manage it as early as possible before it takes a toll on us, before it becomes an official depression, and even in some cases, extreme cases, might lead to suicide. And what is really recommended is that we are, first of all, aware of what is stress and what is burnout. Second, we need to identify the cause of the burnout. Is it mostly in the workplace? Then we go discuss options with our manager. How can we take home some work? How can we create nowadays more flexible work-home balance? How can we communicate in a way where the boss knows we are working and is focusing more on the deliverables rather than on how many hours we are online, behind the screen, or in the office? If this is at home, then also we need to manage the relationship, what is happening, how we can discuss with our spouse or with our children, splitting the responsibility. So what's important is to be aware and to talk about it and to address it and to create solutions. There is always solution. We believe that as women, if we don't handle all of these, then something will happen. Something will stop existing. The end of the world will happen. In reality, when someone dies, yes, it's very sad, but then people move on. We don't want to reach this stage. We can always create something whereby our existence or certain tasks will keep on happening even without us being 100% hands-on. We can delegate even at home. We can, co-create what we want. We can take time out for ourselves. Taking our time out for ourselves, many of us women, we feel guilty when we take time for ourselves. We feel guilty if we go, for example, to the gym or take a day off without the kids or without the husband. But actually recreating ourselves is very important for the sake of us and everyone else. When we're depleted, we cannot give anything out to anyone. Breathing, yoga, meditation, whatever works for you, it doesn't matter. Some people, jogging and swimming works best. So as long as you recognize the importance of self-care, you consciously decide on what you want and how you want to design, and you realize that you do not need to be the superhero in everything, the super mom, super employee, super boss. You're not alone. Create a circle of support, circle of friends, tap into this resource, this platform, the Female Wave of Change, be it in the UAE, we welcome you all, be it in everywhere else. And I will end up this talk by giving the example of the frog, whereby they say there was a frog that was, we caught a frog, we put it in a very hot boiling water. The frog realized the heat and jumped out immediately. Another frog was put in normal temperature water, and the heat was raised slowly and gradually. And the frog started adjusting and stretching itself and adjusting more to the heat until the heat was too high and the frog wanted to jump. However, the frog has lost the ability to be able to jump out of the water. It lost its strength, it lost, its focus, and the frog died. What caused the frog to die? Is it the hot water? Is it its inability to realize that what was the situation, that the heat was going gradually? So let's think about this example and let's not burn out as a frog. Let's jump out quickly with a lot of awareness and with a lot of support. Seek help when you need help. Seeking support is a virtue, is not a vice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lina. Thank you for such an impressive tips. Thank you all for being with us during this session, and back to you, Tabelo.